In this very short video, I want to explain a little bit about what the code we looked at in class does and make sure that I'm clear about kind of the model or the conversation about 2D lists and kind of how they translate to spreadsheets. So in this case here, a lot of what we've done so far has been like, here's a matrix or a 2D list of random numbers, add the evens, add the odds, count the number of instances of this, count the number, sum up if it is a character, or sum it up if it is a number, and then you're going through every single row. In this case, you're not necessarily going to have to go through every single row, but it is a table, a list of lists. So in this case, the first row would be row 0 is of all strings, and then from that point on, they're a combination of strings and integers. For both this 2D list and also this 2D list, two different 2D lists. And what's happening in this code is we pass the 2D list in, and then we also give a particular column that we're wanting to look at. So what happens is it takes the 2D list, is data, and the column that we're looking for. And so the first thing it says, in that header row, row 0, is that text not in the list, in which case it says column, whatever you searched for is not in the header row. The end, return. In the case that it is found, then we look for what position across is it in which is to say which index in the first row is that particular string found, and that then becomes the column that we're looking at. So if I search for name, that's at column 0, titles column 1, years of service column 2. So what's happening is we say, is it found? Then it says, give me, based on that text, determine what column we'll be looking at. Going forward, the max value, this then becomes the longest scarf conversation we've had all year, which is the first scarf is the longest until I find a longer scarf. My max value is the second row, which is index 1, in that particular column we're looking at. And what is the max row? Well, it's the first row. All of the first row is the information I would store, that's where the max of that particular search is found. So the max salary or the max years of service or the max whatever. This only, in this particular code set, only works for numeric values. So we could probably say if at index 0, if data 0 column index is not alpha, in which case it would tell me that, or is not numeric, return the data you're looking for doesn't work in this method or something. But because we're going to assume that the numbers we're searching for, and that's what's happening in this, will give us numeric values, I can then use the greater than to check and compare. So what does it do? It goes from every row, starting at the second row, which is index 1, till the end of my list. It's going to, or the end of the matrix, for as many rows as there are. I want to check if the value at that row, in that column index, again, whatever that search was, if that value is greater than the max, that max value then becomes that particular search through. Go through, in which case now I store the row. I'm going to go through this loop over and over and over until I get to the end, and I no longer I've determined what the max row is. The max row might be the first row, in which case this element here, max row data 1, is still going to be that, and it would return that. Max row, because in the data is a 2D, a single item is a 1D, max row is a one-dimensional list across, it returns that row. Okay. So in the case where I pass in the result, find the max of in our data, the years of service, and it says, this right here, print line 38, would print the whole list. What is it? Position 0 would be the column's name, wherever this max, the years of service. So I look at the years of service, I find that 12 is my highest one, Ethan Lee is the person's name at position 0, right? This 33 becomes my max row, and as a result, it gets passed, that's the returned list. position 0, Ethan Lee, their title is marketing lead, years of service is 12, and their salary as a string is 130,000. Then I have a different call of the function, a different data. Oh, sorry, that one would have been, where's my first one? Years of service, 10 would have been Eve Torres. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong 2D list. Eve Torres, marketing director, 10, 105,000. Then I say salary. First row is the first one is the most, and then I check against any of those. And then I get back to Ethan Lee again. Then 0, 1, 2, 3 would print out his thing, and we can look at the returned values of that so far. So again, here's the most service. That's the row. Ethan Lee, that's the row, and you see now with that formatted plugged into that output. Then we saw a third call, which was find max in column with the company data, look for the column age. I look at that company data and I say name, title, years of service, salary. So when it says, hey, are you that age, are you in that first row, row 0, it says nope. It's going to say column age was the search I was looking for, is not found in the header row. It's still going to print anything else that's a print, employee with the oldest age, and so as a result I should see something that says employee with the oldest age, column age is not found in the header row. Great. That is that script, and I'll highlight some things about it that I think will help us. Let's look at it here. Okay, so this is all of our code. And as we think through the things we do on our highlighting, first thing is selection. Where do I see selection? If that value is greater than, I have a condition, I have an if. If it is not in a list, that's an if. Those are both great examples of selection. Then I have iteration. I'm going through every row from the second row, which is index 1, through the entire two-dimensional list. I'm going to check something about it. So that's our iteration. Where do we see a list? I've got two lists. I've got a list right here that's a two-dimensional list, company data, and I've got another two-dimensional list, company data 2. Where do I access this list? Anywhere where I see company data, or once I pass it into a method, right? So company data is down here, company data 2 is right here, company data is here. It's also going to be data as it goes in, data, I'm accessing all these things here. So it's up there. It's also down in the pass of our actual method function call. Where's our procedure? The procedure starts at def and ends with the return, and everything inside this is my procedure. And where's the procedure called? Purple. Called it once, find max in column. I've got three calls of the same method with two different data sets in three different search or column names that I'm looking for. And as a result, I have a fully functional create task. So you have this code, you have the slides. I think it's a good thing to review as you try to remember exactly what's happening and kind of track what how you can interact with a two-dimensional list, because again, two-dimensional lists are spreadsheets. We're about to spend a lot of time in spreadsheets. At some point, we're going to build our own spreadsheets and access and analyze our own spreadsheets. And the way to do that will eventually be both a combination of nested loops and procedures like this, but also using other libraries that are helpful in Python, such as pandas, which we'll talk about in the upcoming weeks. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Send me an email and we'll work on code like this as we go on through the next month. Thanks.